Hello, kiddies. It's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And you're listening to The Bottom Shelf.
But I think it's mostly when he would dress up in that green outfit at night when he thought no one was looking, and he would dance around his little Stonehenge.
Yeah. You know, it was moments like that just make my heart smile when I think about them.
I mean, I don't miss
Hey
the
guys,
snow.
I'm back, suckers. What's up? How are you doing? I had such a grand, lovely time in Ireland, and I did not miss either one of you. You know what? When I went down to the pub that the movie Fatal Deviation was made, and I got some parts, and I saw the parts of the car that got scorched.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kevo.
Hey, what's up?
It's about time. I was starting to develop a depression every time I'd pour out a bowl of cereal to your memory.
Is that why the Lucky Charms went out the airlock last week?
Yeah. For real funny. I certainly didn't miss your casual racism for you, John. But you know what? I did brought gifts. I brought something for you.
Ooh,
you know,
gifts.
because I'm trying to be nice and whatever. Here's some potato crisp for you guys. I got salt and vinegar, smoked bacon, and aged Irish cheddar.
Smoked bacon.
Aged Irish cheddar. Was the cheddar aged in whiskey?
No, because whatever, man. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
I'm just gonna eat this bag of chips over here.
By the way, dude,
Cheers.
I wrapped
Chisps.
I wrapped some gifts for you too. So here you go. Also,
really?
I can tinker with the taco machine now, and I've made it so that we can broadcast our signal from here and from Shiro Base at the same time.
Wait, John, what are you doing to my taco machine?
I just got to adjust this here.
John, no. John.
Extra guacamole on everything. That's right.
Yeah, I'm back.
Prepare yourself to discover a world of terrible movies. High above the planet Geekery, a group of intrepid explorers hover over the dangerous planet in their fabulous super-orbital spacecraft. Their mission? To conduct a complete analysis of movies known throughout the universe as terrible. So grab your space popcorn, grab your freeze-dried ice cream, and join us for today's mission of discovery and wonder. Are these movies better than the galaxy thinks? Or do they really belong on the bottom shelf?
Hello and welcome to The Bottom Shelf, a podcast extension of Geek Devotions, show for devoted geeks who are devoted and know you're loved. We are the podcast that reviews terrible movies so you don't have to. I'm Dallas, and we're so glad to have you guys here with us. Whether you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you found this podcast, hey, welcome to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by an amazing cast, amazing crew. First and foremost, I want to say hello to my long-lost Irish friend, Mr. Kevin Joshua Burnham. Hey, buddy.
Hi.
Welcome back. We've missed you.
I've been listening to you two ever since you've left.
Oh, that's a terrible day.
Yeah, that's a very horrible selection. Why would you go to YouTube? There's so many great others.
Well, I just wanted to get the spirit of Bono because he's the...
Screw that guy. And all his fake charities he goes to.
Is that why you have all the Beano around also?
No, that's left over from when Branson went on the Taco Bell Rager.
That's true. You've missed a lot, man. And let me tell you, the fans have missed you.
I doubt that.
I doubt
they missed anything.
They have. You are well loved. They missed you like we're missing your beard right now.
Just like how John mispronounces his favorite director's name, Jim Jarmusch, because he can't say that.
Jarmusch?
Yeah.
Is a moose in a jar?
The dead don't die. I was listening to one of the backlogs. It's like Jim Jarmusch. It was like Jim Jarmusch. I even know that, and I don't like him. Whatever.
Well, Zim and Kevin's back, and we've missed you. And of course, we have here the amazing, the wonderful Mr. John. How are you?
Who dat?
That's you.
Oh,
who are you?
I'm not even sure anymore. So, but anyways, Kevin, I believe that John has graced you with a couple gifts.
I know.
Are you excited?
I'm shocked. Well, I don't get nothing for Christmas, so I'm kind of, I don't know what to think about this, but I'm hoping this is actually really good. Can I open up this box or this gift box, whatever it is inside?
I mean, I don't have a problem. John, are you cool with him opening his Christmas gift early?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, as long as you guys don't act weird if I open it in front of you.
We're celebrating Irish Christmas, which is different than regular Christmas.
Yeah, because we're feeling Catholic at the moment. Sure. Okay, let me see. What's this inside there?
No, it's pronounced Catholic.
Okay, whatever. Let's see. All right. And what the frick? What's this? It's a movie? Wait. This is. I don't even know this.
You love movies. I got it out of the bin for you.
I was hoping for something that I like that I don't know. I don't know what's this? Robot Jox. What is Robot Jox? I don't know.
I don't know.
What is this? I thought you gave me a Christmas present. This is not a Christmas present.
Bro, I gave you a piece of my childhood.
Piece of your childhood. You know what? Whatever. Tired of this crap.
He already has sad and depression. Why are you sharing that with him?
Okay. I was hoping for something good. Now I'm getting... Yeah, I forgot. I'm back in the bottom shelf. I watch crappy movies. What else do I have to do with my life here?
Well, what is Robot Jox? What does the box say?
Let's see what the bloody thing says. Okay. Robot Jox is an Empire International Pictures studio. Okay. Let me see in the back. Okay, it says released the 21st of November 1990 in glorious, amazing, non-dull color in 84 minutes. It's rated PG for coarse language, violence, over-exaggerated accents, and nudity. PG.
Okay.
What year? 1990. Okay, cool. Let's see.
That makes sense.
There's some notes in here. Cool. From the late cult film director Stuart Gordon, who has made films such as Reanimator, Dolls, From Beyond, The Wonderful Ice Cream Suit. Oh my God, no.
What? What is that?
Oh God.
That sounds like a very cold day.
The Wonderful Ice Cream Man suit was like, it was unapologetically racist with these Spanish people running an ice cream truck. And this man had the suit and he put on magical flavors of, oh my God, no. And Stuart Gordon, of course. Screenplay. He did the screenplay for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I like that one.
Cool, but he did it for all the movies. So, wow, I didn't know he lived that long. Sorry. John Halderman's only film screenplay. Okay. Maybe that's saying something. Patrick Cox on his only stop motion behind the scenes. Wow, another one and only done. But he has done roles for extras on films and television shows. Also, Mark Rappaport for the Mechanical Rigger and Puppeteer. Okay, so this is telling me the stop motion and puppeteers. This man has created effects for films such as Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Oh,
yes.
Tremors, Army of Darkness, and 300. Wow. And this was his first film? Or one of his first?
This has promise. Okay. This has promise. Maybe he pulled out a good one. Maybe John pulled out something good for us.
Didn't you guys top shelf that freaking film?
Which one?
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I think we might have.
See, when we didn't have you here, Kevin, we had a lot more leeway with what we like.
Anyways, this film is starring Jean-Claude Van Damme lookalike Gary Graham, a woman named Anne-Marie Johnson, a German-born Canadian raised with a ridiculous Russian accent Paul Koslow, Robert Sampson, Danny Kamikanon from the other two robot movies, Robot Wars and Problem Child, a Slim Pickens extra stuntman Michael Aldridge, and a bunch of extras from Total Recall.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm guessing because it's a Canadian film, so there's a bunch of Canadian actors in Total Recall. So yeah, it makes sense. Whatever.
That makes sense. Let me see this box. Let me see this.
You have it. Here, go.
All right. Oh, there's some taglines. Wait, this is Giant. Is this why we're broadcasting to Shiro bases because of giant robots, John?
Wait a minute. Are you telling me all along this is not really truly a gift for me, but some way of shoehorning another podcast? Wow. Absolutely pathetic.
For the Gundam watch?
Well, I mean, it just made sense because we're watching movies, but like it's Mechmas, so
it is Mechmas here.
Why not cross the two?
Wow.
All right, let me read these taglines. Let's see here. This is literally the movie that made me not watch Gundam. Well, and this is what we're broadcasting out over the Gundam Watch. Okay. All right. The Circle of Life. Japan creates Gundam. Hollywood ruins it. What are we getting into, John?
Like I said, this was actually a piece of my childhood. So
okay. This is a movie I watched. That comes from Mr. Ben Avery.
Okay.
Ben gave us that one.
I mean, this is a movie. Yeah, this is what we do with movies. We watch them, right?
This is either a statement of this is a good movie, or this is a statement of like, yeah, this is gonna be bad and you're gonna cry.
It's almost like saying, hey, there's a door. I open this handle. It's like, yeah, no kidding. What else do you do with the door?
Well, bro, okay, so I read that more as I know I've seen this movie. I don't remember anything about it. It's more saying it's a forgettable movie.
Maybe. And then lastly, we have now with PG nudity. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
this nudity is really sticking out, isn't it?
Apparently. John, what do we...
I think I think the PG in that statement was pretty good.
All right, John, here, read the back of the box, man, so we know what we're getting into.
Okay, Robot Jox, the massive killer machines of the future, driven from the inside by the world's greatest warriors. These incredible robot gladiators use their awesome size and computer weapons to fight each other to the death. Achilles is our country's mightiest fighter. Now he faces the 3 most dangerous challenges in life. He must attempt to crush his undefeated rival, the powerful Alexander, and try to uncover the traitor who is leaking top secret information to the enemy. But his greatest battle will be with his teammate Athena, a woman warrior bred to fight who will stop at nothing to take his place. Climb into the cockpit of a giant killer robot and take on the enemy in War of the Future.
Well, I mean, it sounds promising.
I mean,
do you see what the front of that VHS case says right there?
What's that?
2 men, 2 machines, 2 wild. What is this? 2 Fast, 2 Furious or something?
Maybe it's robots. Maybe it's robots gone wild.
All right. Well, John, since you're the only one who knows anything about this movie, what's some trivia?
So let's take a look here. If I sound a little bit weird to everybody, it's because I broke my arm, so I'm on pain meds. Let's start with the Mandela effect that I have about this movie, first of all. When we first found out we were doing this movie, I was like, hey, sweet, we're coupling up a bunch of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Because we just done Street Fighter. And then I realized Jean-Claude Van Damme's not in this. And I could have swore he was in this. Turns out Stuart Gordon almost cast Jean-Claude Van Damme as the lead role of Achilles in this movie.
Really?
So, yeah. So, I mean, apparently there's some movement behind my Mandela effect, but...
What's up with Jean-Claude trying to play American heroes?
It was kind of his shtick during the 90s. Like he was, apparently a Belgian kickboxer was as American as apple pie.
I mean, at least now we have like British actors who can actually sound American. Looking at you, Superman.
The other thing about this,
he passes a hero, but not as an American, huh?
Well, I mean, I don't think Jean-Claude Van Damme can do an American accent to save his life, to be perfectly honest, or at least do it and make it sound natural.
Yeah.
And
yeah, just like it splits.
And Dallas, before the show, you and I were chatting about how you almost watched the sequel to this movie. There actually wasn't a sequel to this movie. You were talking about a movie called Robot War, which is considered like the spiritual sequel. But they did have a true sequel for Robot Jox that was lined up, and it was considered, but it got canceled. Apparently, Stuart Gordon, Gary Graham, and Paul Kelso would have all returned as director and stars respectively. but apparently the story was supposed to be about Achilles and Alexander teaming up to stop an alien invasion. Like, if that doesn't sound like someone jumping the shark, I mean,
So what would that movie have been called as a sequel? Would it have been called like Robot Straps because yeah, like Jox straps and whatever.
Jock straps. I think it probably would. I think this would have been the beginning of the early '90s subtitle craze for sequels. It had been like Robot Jox Independence Day, and then they would have like had Will Smith driving another one.
I thought they would just invite the cast from Meatballs into this.
And when you're listening to this, when there's apparently a scene, well, I'm not going to pretend like I haven't seen this movie because this was from my childhood. There's a scene that's in this movie where there's a bunch of spectators that gets crushed by a giant robot. That the screams of those spectators were actually sampled by Nine Inch Nails in their song "The Becoming." So that is a used sample. So this movie has made its way into the music industry as well.
All right.
And then the original company that was putting this movie out went bankrupt during the filming of this movie.
In the middle of filming it?
Yeah, it was Empire Pictures, and this was the most expensive film they had ever made. And so they went bankrupt in the middle of filming it. The film was actually bought up by Epic Productions and finished and released almost entire 2 full years after it had first gotten started getting made.
Sounds like they should have swapped S Smart. Sorry.
So here's a question: did they make their money back? Like, obviously, the sequel wasn't greenlit.
Well, sometimes sequels don't get made, even if they didn't become successful the first one.
Mm-hmm.
As long as their tax money comes back, they can always go with a sequel. Because that's always the case too.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, Dallas. I don't have the financials on this particular movie. I can tell you 89 people didn't really start paying attention to that stuff outside of the industry.
Right.
Back in the 80s. So, I mean,
well, this is 90s, 1990.
Okay.
So this was like video store time.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's more money than we've ever seen. That's all I know. It will always be more money than we've ever seen.
Nope. I found the information. Thank you, Glix, for speeding up my bandwidth here.
Yeah, thanks,
so
Glix.
I can find that. This movie was budgeted at $10 million, and that's estimated.
That's a lot.
Opening weekend when it came out, because it actually released on November 25th of 1990. Okay. Opening weekend, it made $464,441 in opening weekend. So its worldwide gross to try to make back that $10 million that it was budgeted for.
Right.
$1,272,977. It literally only made back a tenth of what its budget was.
Yeah, that didn't do too hot.
It made just enough for tithing.
I was just thinking the same thing.
That's about it.
That's a bad day. So yeah, you can see why there was no sequel, is because there was this movie hemorrhaged money, and they didn't even have Jean-Claude Van Damme's nose to thank for it.
All right. Well, what are our expectations for the film, guys?
I don't have any expectations because, I don't know anything about this, and I thought this was actually a nice gift until I found, no, this is just a freaking plug-in. So whatever, man.
Bro,
I don't care.
get over it. It's still a movie. You can add it to your collection.
Whatever.
Expectations for me is going to be bland on top of bland. I saw this movie once in my childhood. The thing I remember most about this movie is its advertising on TV.
Really?
Like this movie was advertised nonstop on TV. At least.
Is this your childhood memory?
Yes. The advertising.
Did you bring any commercials or any advertisements to go along with the movie?
No, we got the
Toys,
whole movie. We don't
underwear,
need the advertising.
prints, whatever. Nothing.
What's Prince got to do with it?
That's what I'm wondering now.
Memorabilia, pictures, prints. You know, like
prints.
you get, yeah.
I thought you said
Still gallery prints.
We thought you were talking about Prince, like, you know,
like Purple Rain.
What? No.
Okay.
Let's move on. So I saw the movie once and I honestly didn't remember a lot about it. I remembered that there was a scene where a woman walks into a co-ed shower.
Okay.
And that's
What is that? Starship
it.
Troopers?
You know,
Sorry.
I've only seen that once as well, and that also don't remember a single thing about it. So I'm predicting a very bland movie, a movie equivalent to eating all-purpose flour.
You're not making me feel very excited about my gift, man.
Kevin, what show are we doing right now?
I know, but you know, I thought you had like higher, you know, goals, higher
you,
things to look up. You know,
I will
like,
send you a nice gift here in a couple weeks, Kevin. How about that? Will that make you feel better?
I guess so. I
Okay,
mean, sure. I'll take gifts any time of the year. It doesn't have to be Christmas.
So here's my expectations. So Kevin brought the fact there were some legitimate, like, practical effects going on. Some people who did some legitimate great puppeteering and some rigging and stuff like that. A little bit of stop motion sounding stuff. I like that kind of stuff. I'm intrigued. I like big robots. I'm looking at the back of the box though, and I'm not so sure. My cousin didn't have a toy of one of these robots. Now that I'm having a major like PTSD flashback moment here. I think my cousin had a toy of of this white and red robot. I'm being for reals right now.
It looks like a transformer. They all look alike.
I don't know. I'm gonna say I'm going in with a well. I don't expect it to be good just from here since it only made 1/10 of its budget back. But you know, it might be fun. It might be campy enough for me. So that's all it's got.
Something else. One of the guys who also worked on the stop motion and puppeteers and everything else also worked on almost every single movie of John's favorite, the Puppet Masters. They made about 25 of those movies.
Why is that my favorite?
You like all those weird, stupid, cheesy 80s horror films.
Dude, I do have a soft spot for 80s horror, and I do have the first 10 Puppet Master movies.
See, I was halfway there.
But here's the thing, though. I've only watched the first one. I got it as one of those combo packs you get at Walmart for like $10.
Oh,
and it's just like first 10 Puppet Master movies for $10 in the same case, and I'm like,
how very Dave Ramsey of you. Kevin, you should be proud of him.
I'm actually, I think I want to be proud, but I don't know if I should be proud.
All right. Well, let's go watch this movie, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, come on, Glix, play the movie.
Dear listeners, this is your opportunity to escape. Our crew has just entered into the media projection chamber. What horrors and madness that they consume are unknown. Their mental state upon their return is unknown. You have been warned.
So coming out of that, I will say that this is a perfect example of there are things that you cannot appreciate at the time of a thing that you learn to appreciate more as you get older, because it's not a thing at the time. What I'm referring to is 1980s retrofuturism.
Yes. I'm gonna sit here right now and say that's my first positive thing about it. I have a love for that 1980s future retroism that you talked about.
Retrofuturism.
There's something about that, like when you see futuristic stuff, but has all the retro stuff to it at the same time. There's there's a joy that I have when I see that kind of stuff. It gives a texture to that world.
I am very much the same way. I love retrofuturism. Like, it's the same reason why I have such a soft spot for the original RoboCop movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when I first saw this movie, because it was so next to the 80s, it wasn't retrofuturism at the time. It was just, hey, this is what the future looks like.
Right.
So.
But like, even like something like that stuff you see like played into like the first Alien movie, and there are several other movies out there. It's just, it gives a texture to that world, and that's what I like.
Dude, the ultimate 1980s retrofuturistic movie, Blade Runner.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that the part of the reason why is because that stuff right there, it grounds the world for the viewer. Sometimes things are so futuristic and so clean and crisp that there's a disconnect. It's like the difference between the first Independence Day and the sequel. The first Independence Day was just grounded enough in the real life that people were into it. The sequel is so futuristic and so it's a terrible film in comparison to the first one. And so I appreciated that this world that created within Robot Jox, it had that I don't know, there was a texture to it. There was this that just grabbed you. You could watching it, I can see how somebody in 1982 or 1988 when they were producing it will go, yeah, this is what it would be like in the future. So what are some other spoiler-free thoughts we got?
Crash and burn. Crash and burn. Crash and friggin' burn. Oh my God, if that said it one more freaking time, I was going to lose my mind.
There are so many things that this movie
35 times. Crash and burn.
They had no explanation for these things. like that phrase specifically, like, what was the point of that phrase? Again, we're in the spoiler-free thought process here, but there was no explanation for so many things.
That's like us telling John to break arm. Wait, never mind.
Wow, dude. Literal insult to injury.
That's what I'm here for. Anyways, you know what this film has? This film has like all the elements out of Peter Verhoeven film, but none of the satire or actual commentary. It was like it was completely missing. It was like they were trying with one spot, but it never went any further or went anywhere else.
That's because there was a big conflict over the script on this movie.
Yeah, I could see that.
Where did I put it in my notes here?
Notes.
Through my notes.
Oh man,
He's got notes,
dude. He's been having notes for days, bro. When you left the country, and he's just like, I will embody the Kevin. And he's been writing notes for everything.
I don't think you want to do that too much.
So Joe Haldeman and Gordon Stewart, when they were writing this, the issue was that Haldeman wanted to make this more dramatic, with like a more dramatic, serious science fiction film.
Mm-hmm.
And Gordon wanted to kind of splash it up with stereotypes and cartoonish characters.
Just his style.
And basically every time Haldeman would change the science into something reasonable, or make something serious in there, Stewart would go basically go back in and make it a character of itself again. So like any time one would try to make it believable, the other one would insist on putting in characters and cliches. And it was really frustrating to Joe Haldeman, because out of everybody involved with creating it, he was the only person who had ever been a soldier, and he was trying to make the story about the soldiers. And yeah, so like there was very big disagreements on what kind of movie they were making, and I think that's part of what contributed to the overall blandness of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Was the fact that you had one person who wanted to go super serious, you have one person who wants to go kids movie that adults can enjoy,
right?
And if the only middle ground you're going to find there is just bleh.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to pick this movie for my niece and nephew to watch with me.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. I did appreciate a few of the and this is a good thing and a bad thing. Some of the stop motion I enjoyed, and then some of it I didn't. Like, it was inconsistent, and I don't know if it's part of that the fighting they had back and forth with some stuff, but like there were moments where I was like, this isn't bad for a 1989 movie, and then all of a sudden there was like, are they in the Toys R Us aisle and they just knocked over some kid's toy? Like, what's happening in this scene? And so, like, there are times where I was like, yes, and then there are times where I was just like, this is a failure. Like, there's so much inconsistency throughout the entirety of the film of quality.
There's a reason why Ray Harryhausen was the king and master of stop motion, because
I was just about to bring him into that conversation.
I mean, you could
I
tell
have
by
missed
watching
you
it.
so much, Kevin.
This stop motion was horrendous. I don't know what you thought was nice. Not one stop motion scene was nice to me at all. I love when they did the actual, like, on set creativity. That was great, actually. In fact, I know, whatever, spoiler. I don't give a crap. This whole movie is a spoiler. The beginning of this movie, I like the opening of this movie.
Yes, that was the point.
The score, how it just opened up. It's like, this is a great opening, and it just went right after that.
So I'll tell you what, because I feel like none of us have anything to say that's not spoiler. Is that am I correct in that? Is there everything we have to say spoil filled?
I do have one thing I want to make a comment on real fast.
Okay.
Only if it's really fast.
Dude, shut up. So this was during the time period where if any character ever came from Texas, they needed to be overly stereotypical Texas character. Yeehaw, shoot my guns in the air and give me steak while I drill for oil, Texas.
What are you talking about, boy? Let's go get the pickup truck right down there, get some cows. Yeehaw!
Oh, jeez. And I will say the character Tex. That's right, everybody. There's a character named Tex in this movie. Was just so hammy with how they approached writing his character. Like, you want to talk about people who put in caricatures, like what we're talking about with them fighting on that script. That's where you're going to see it the most, because that guy was so unbelievable as an actual person.
They should have used Slim Pickens instead.
What's that?
They should have used Slim Pickens instead.
Okay. 10 points to Dallas if you can tell me who Slim Pickens is.
No idea.
Shame. Spoiler section.
Ladies and gentlemen, the spoiler section.
All right, Kevin, we're letting you off the chain. Go to it, because
war is not outlawed. But when has war ever been legal? When is war?
Thank you.
Ever legal?
Oh my gosh, that's the first note I have in my notes. How do you outlaw war? What is happening here?
What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Except for making money.
Yeah, and Rush Hour.
So I have a theory. First off, I firmly believe that this film was, like, the scripting was 90%. Let's talk about the Cold War. And they were trying to talk about the fact that people are making money off of the fear and the anxiety and everything else of the Cold War. Ironically, they were trying to do the same thing with this film. They failed.
So cold, they fight for freaking Alaska. Who wants Alaska? That's the one thing we want to fight over.
Bro,
let's fight against the land of the most frigid, darkest, isolated land with moose, beavers, and beer fountains.
During the Cold War, Alaska was a major fighting zone, because if Russia can get a foothold in Alaska, man, they're going to march straight down and grab us. I mean, have you never played Risk? This is a very common thing.
Not only that, but everything was paranoia. But I will say, from a tactical standpoint, Alaska is huge because it has oil, like almost like more oil than Texas.
Yeah.
But it also has, like they say in the movie, a lot of the mineral deposits, untapped mineral deposits, as far as like gold.
It
silver,
is a huge space to grab hold, and that's the
And
reason why
ice has loads of ice.
well, yes, but underneath that ice. But that's the reason why we've fought so hard to maintain that piece of land for so long. But this whole film was purely a let's take the Cold War to a futuristic state, a futuristic place. This is like the nuclear war that they talked about. That was the conclusion of the Cold War.
So
And
it's
out of
exploited
that,
for its
people are
natural
making-
resources.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And out of that, people are like, let's make money now off of the fear by having sanctioned fights between countries. And
Sounds like Walt Disney.
and then have at the same time gambling rings based around these international fights that we're having. Like this whole thing, in my opinion, was a big, hey, this is how terrible things are happening with the Cold War, and our government and other individuals are simply taking advantage of our fears and our anxieties about it.
It's a good thing that this movie came out and warned us about that, so we could curtail that behavior before. Oh wait,
That's basically every year. Well, since you're talking about like fear, the film, like I said,
it's a mind killer. Sorry,
dude.
guys.
Anyhow, since you were talking about fear and all that, I think it was trying to touch on it. This is where when I was saying earlier about it feels like it should have been a Peter Verhoeven film, but it doesn't have the actual commentary or satire inside of the film. It's that it talks about how valued women are for pregnancy, but it never explores why.
Mhm.
Like, was there a disease? Was there population overgrowth? Was men choking to death on pie? You know, what? Nothing. It doesn't go any further. It doesn't explain nothing.
This is
I have
what
a
we were
feeling-
talking about at the beginning. Sorry, go on, John.
I was just about to say, I have a feeling that there's an uncut version of this movie that's about twice as long, floating around somewhere in a vault that probably goes a lot deeper and probably is a little bit more enjoyable.
I would hope so, because like what we said at the beginning of the show, there's so many things that they said or did with so little explanation. You don't understand why they're pushing things. You're left to kind of assume like, okay, so maybe nuclear fallout's still a problem, you know, and kind of going back to my idea that this is a film about the exploitation of people's fears and anxieties. I think that the push for people to have pregnancy, because one woman, she said that, you know, if we have 6 kids, then we get 3 bedrooms.
Yeah, I'm
And
like,
there's signs
okay.
everywhere that say about, you know, hey, you know, basically having designer babies, you know, get pregnant to develop jocks. The government's
Wait,
almost subsidizing
Was it government funded? It didn't even say it was government funded. They just like, we get this, like, from who? Who's providing this?
Wait, does this movie exist in the same universe as Gattaca?
Mm.
What?
I think it's a dystopian timeline of Gattaca, which is already pretty dystopian of itself. I would say it's a divergent timeline of Gattaca.
And the other thing with it was saying like, how there was so much against women to be in war. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess especially since she is grown, they breed these women to the androids? I don't know what you call them now.
They were
clones? Tubies. I mean, they were grown for battle.
This was
were
at the same
grown.
time. Yeah.
and trained for battling, but not for breeding. So it just felt like, while this was very comical to me, it was also very sexist. That was quite apparent in this at all.
Oh,
I'm blatantly sexist.
The amount of
Because every
sexism in
time-
this was just over the top.
It's like the whole topic, like they had something there. They just never fully explored or explained what they're just like, here's an idea. Here's an idea. Here's an idea. I was like, okay. Anything comes further with the idea? Nothing.
It's almost like, you know, I'm gonna harken back to my high school experiences.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, it was also before I became a Christian. I hung out with the stoner crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And when you would hang out with those guys, they would come up with these thoughts and they would be like, man, have you ever thought about, and they would just throw something out there.
How deep the hole is on the black hole? It's like, what? Huh?
You know, just stuff like that. And it's like Kevin said, it'd be like, here's an idea. And I felt like that's what this movie was doing. It wasn't really interested in the ideas out there. It's just like, just every so often in the script, it'd be like, man, have you ever thought about what it would be like if Russia, if we like did a David and Goliath fight where it was all between two people, but it was in robots.
Like, I feel like that might have been the script writing moments right there.
But I mean, it's just with all these other collective ideas. Like, man, did you ever think about like if they bred people specifically for war, but like one was a girl?
No, a girl? Oh my gosh, think of the flexibility, the possibility she could fight in war.
But what if like the patriarchy didn't want her to fight because she's a girl, but they made her? Then what?
Whoa, man, that's like totally wild.
And that's basically
no men.
And that's basically the gist I get from what Kevin's talking about. It's just they weren't interested in exploring the ideas they were having. They just wanted to throw those ideas out there and be like, have you ever thought about that? Cool.
Or the biggest idea in this movie, the biggest one, robots. Why robots? Why freaking humongous, whatever, Transformer, Godzilla, kaiju sized robots with because one man inside each machine to fight? Why? Why can't you just have them boxing? Just do it, knuckle bear style, white knuckle style.
It's easier to market it that way.
It's stupid. What a stupid idea. We're going to fight. War's not legal, but hey, we'll make war legal as long as it's robots.
Well, again, it's all marketed.
At least add some satire or comical and put some like bumper stickers like, hey, this is being funded by 76 gas station. Get your petrol here.
Right.
Don't like get Exxon because they'll ruin Alaska.
Honestly, if this movie wanted to make back some of its budget, it should have done product placement by having companies sponsor the robots.
Yeah. If they were to remake this film today, if they were smart, that's exactly what they would do. And now it would become a much more political conversation and like to begin with, if they did all that. But
I can promise you that if this movie was made today, Achilles would have been played by a female actress.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I kind of wish they would put some golden arches over that robot. That way it says like we fight for billions and billions.
And the name of his robot would be called Big Mac.
But the rings would glow when they would shoot beams from them. That way they'd be practical.
No, they would just pull them off
Holy
and use them as
arch!
laser boomerangs.
He pull out French fry swords.
Gets out a big straw. He's like, I can tell you can do with this oil. You can suck it. And then get this big humongous straw.
McDonald's, call us up. We got a plan for you.
Hey, who are those guys? Bombshell Podcast. How much can we sue them for? Absolutely nothing.
They can sue us for everything that we have, which is
nothing.
Zero.
If you have questions, please see John Haryu. All right.
I will just repeat your questions back at you, except in my stoner voice. Like, have you ever thought about parodying some fast food chain in context to a slightly sexist Cold War robot movie?
We don't know about that. They're naked. Oh, right. Money.
Well, since we're broadcasting out to the Gundam Watch feed at the same time, let's talk about these robots. This is like I just don't even understand why they thought this was a good design setup for these robots. Like, what inspired that these are how robots should look like in that time frame? Like Transformers, boxy, yes, but they were still far sleeker than these things. Like, these things moved like molasses.
I think it's just for design.
They were terrible designs. And then like Home Dude, like, he gets hit, and I'm like, you clearly have like traction on the back of your legs to transform. Why don't you just go into that form to fight?
Because there was one part that transformed was right between the legs.
That was inappropriate.
I was about to say, because then we wouldn't have been able to look at Alexander's crotch saw.
Yeah.
Like, it just, like, none of the design choices made sense. The only design choice that I appreciated was the way they piloted it was the where they were actually standing up and walking in tandem with the robot. That's the only design choice that I appreciated about the whole ordeal. Everything else.
I know Guillermo del Toro stole that idea to make a far better film.
But at the same time, like all right, so when Achilles in that first battle gets hit and he falls backwards, and like he's like clearly bent over backwards in a situation that would have broken your back regardless. I'm going, you guys know that this is a very easy thing to take place because, I mean, it just is. Why didn't you design this cockpit to protect them a little better when they fall backwards? Like that the design didn't make sense at all.
It's the same reason why you put the audience out there right next to them fighting in the freaking field.
It's because the design was created by movie makers, not robot makers.
It's just, I mean, it was just plot. I mean, it was purely just a plot device to.
You act like you haven't seen movies from the 80s and early 90s ever, dude. It's shallow. We had this conversation about 80s movies already when we were talking horror films.
That's true.
You can have fun shallow. This isn't really much of a fun shallow film.
I get it, but it still fits that it was the time period it was made. They made shallow movies that was all sizzle, very little steak.
Right.
Well, at least the films I have in my collection actually have a point. I mean, some of them. Okay, not all of them, but at least there had to be some point. There's no
at least
point
4 points on every one of your movies. I mean, at least the boxes.
Yeah.
But I mean,
looking around at his boxes.
to be fair, this movie did have a point. It was very much a commentary on the Cold War.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
very weak commentary. Like it was so weak. It was like what? Was it really?
It made its point at the end, though, that we can coexist despite the fact that we don't agree with each other. I mean, that was really the biggest thing that was being said.
Right.
Now, funny enough, the next year after this movie was made, the Cold War was over and the Berlin Wall fell. So, I mean...
Right.
Maybe that robot was real. Maybe it did crash that wall.
Did Robot Jox save the world? Did it end the Cold War?
Maybe with the help of the Texas man, because I'll see you in hell. I cried. I'm going to say I cried with laughter when he came out and he jumped out and said Geronimo.
Okay.
In the most Tex Avery cartoonish way ever. When he gave that thumbs up and said that, I'll see you boys in hell, or I see you in hell, and jumped out, I cried laughing.
Do you know what that reminded me of?
With laughter.
What's that?
That reminds me of that Stanley Kubrick comedy.
Dr. Strangelove, or How I Love Submarine, Love a Bomb.
When that dude rides that atomic bomb all the way down, fanning it with his hat.
Was that Slim Pickens? Okay, I've watched that movie a couple times. Never got the name.
So, what other opinions do we have here now that Kevin has derailed us?
One of the things there were so many, like the movie just bounced so fast through so many things. Like when Achilles, at the beginning, he's like, you know, he's so against this woman and he's so angry at her. Like when, like he wakes up the next morning after completely being hammered and she's in there and they have this big fight and he's like, you don't know me, he's very angry at her. And then literally the next scene, there's a level of care and concern for her. And like, he's like, yeah, you know, you got this. I'm like, there was literally no storytelling to tell me how he bridged the gap from this point to that point. And it was just, there were so many big gaps. I really hope there is a something out there, a prescript that was written out there that explained some of these holes, just so we understand the world that's taking place here.
That's what happens when the alcohol wears off. He's like, oh yeah, I should care and love you or like you.
Also, I mean, every action hero from the 80s, there had to be some woman that falls in love with him by the end of the movie. I mean, that's about the only one I can think of that didn't end that way was the first Predator. And even still, you could say he still kind of got the girl at the end when he helped the Asian lady escape. So, I mean...
Did this movie actually had a love story? I don't think it... I mean, it felt like it should have, but it stopped. Like, it never went... like, it tried to, but didn't.
They were trying to crowbar in the whole relationship between him and...
Athena.
Athena.
Okay, but it felt like they did try to, but then it's like, no, let's not do that. Which I'm thankful they didn't. But at the same time,
Again,
it's like,
there's just so many false starts to things and so many random things. Like let's randomly fly into space for no good reason.
Oh
Fly
my
around
God!
And land in the exact
Oh my
same
God.
place we started off at.
Let's talk about that space scene for a moment. I watched that and I'm like, why are we doing this?
why not? Why fight on land? We can fight in space. You got the
But
capability.
he wasn't. He was just like flying. It's like you were at the winning point, and you're just like, let's take off.
I'm gonna go out into outer space.
Like it was literally like, hey, we had this in the budget. You want to do this real quick? Yeah, sure. Why not? That's kind of Texan to do.
I couldn't. I'm sitting here staring at this. At no point did they ever say that these things could go into space. This was just something thrown in there to do it, just to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they land in the, it's like we go up into outer space, you shoot my foot off, and now I'm going to land in the same exact place I was flying away from.
The same exact space. At least
10
go into
feet away.
water. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere else.
Like it just made no sense whatsoever. And now I will say this about the final fight scene. The one very Gundam thing they did is they made the bad guy much bigger in the last fight than he was in the first fight, with his like 10 legs that were suddenly just everywhere.
and crotch chainsaw.
Crotch chainsaw too. So
You know what else did not make any sense? I didn't understood the jungle gym scene with the electrocution. What was the point of that?
It was
It's like,
Professor
hey,
X's. It was Professor X's danger room.
and it was real dangerous.
I mean, that's literally what it was. If you read like not like the new X-Men, but if you go back to the first issues of X-Men, if you get your hands on an omnibus that has like the first 5 or first 8 X-Men comic books, that's literally what the danger room looked like.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of, Kevin, is it was to test people's stamina and strength, but even that didn't make sense to me. Like this, like one of the things I've noticed is like, why are we so concerned about teaching these guys kung fu? You weren't doing kung fu in these robots.
None whatsoever.
You were awkwardly walking and pressing buttons that were labeled by the type of fruit that the color related to, because you can't read.
Dude, all robot fighting in this movie was just a series of QuickTime events.
Whatever.
You're not wrong. Pickle, banana, orange.
Chris Farley moved faster than these freaking robots.
It was just
he would do somersaults around them.
This was literally a movie version of a what was that studio that did just story movies that were QuickTime events?
Oh, Telltale.
Yeah, this movie was a Telltale movie.
But I enjoy Telltale.
I enjoy Telltale. not the Werewolf Among Us, but all the others, like the Walking Dead.
The Batman was pretty lit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
So,
the Batman, that was really good.
But that's like, nothing like. All right, the let's talk about the fighting, the kung fu, and then the fight at the end. Their fighting made Street Fighter look high quality. Like that's how terrible their fighting was. There was so much projecting. There was so much
Dallas is just trying to hurt feelings.
Yeah.
Some of the things
don't move.
saying.
Let me punch you. Oh.
Yeah, wait, here we go. They're killing her. They're killing her.
Like I've half expected them to go, oh, pause. I need to figure out my special move. A, B, A, B, C. I mean, like literally, it just was so terrible.
The moment Dallas said C, we realized he was playing on a Genesis.
Yeah.
Heck, yes, I was.
I did want to know the Russian guy's backstory. Why he wanted to kill everyone so bad. He never really had a bad story. He's just like, I want to kill you. It's like, why? Why do you want to kill him so bad?
Because he was Russian.
That's literally how they thought Russians were in the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
Vodka! I put vodka in my cereal. I put vodka on my steak. I put vodka on my vodka. Russian.
But I will say he was a compelling character, more so than any of the ones that we were supposed to be rooting for.
Yeah.
And I was more interested in what was going on with him. Whoever acted as Alexander in this movie, I don't have the crew pulled up on my screen right now, but whoever played Alexander,
Paul Kozlu.
he was the best actor in this movie. Like
my two favorites in this movie is the bipolar opposites. It's the Russian. Well, actually, he's actually a Canadian, German-born Canadian, whatever. Him and the Texas guy. Those two were my favorite because they were so much. I could just have fun with the Texas guy by all of his over-exaggeration and everything he did. He was complete opposite from everyone else, and just like the Russian guy, he was complete opposite from everyone else. I'm like, everyone else was just basically bland. Even the Jean-Claude Van Damme lookalike, he was bland as crap.
I can't get behind Tex. I can't.
Oh my gosh, I had a fun time with.
He sounds like what it sounds like whenever somebody from the UK tries to do an American accent. That's what they end up sounding like.
But he looked like he had fun. He looked like he had fun doing it. He was hamming that role, and I was like, man, I am so glad that you actually went complete opposite, if you were, from what the director's version, if there was, because he was so recognizable. He was someone you could stood out. And I was like, you know what? He knows he's in a bad movie. He's going to give it his all.
He's going to ride that bomb down, waving his cowboy hat.
So, just to talk about how bad how nobody was anybody in this film. My dude that played Achilles has been in 1,000 things, but nothing big. Like, it's all bit parts. He was a character in Jag. He was in Alien Nation, so that's kind of cool. But he was in one of what's probably gonna have to be in the next season of our show, Steel.
It's like you already know what movies are in this dumpster.
Why don't you go into dumpster diving since you know all these movies inside?
Like he was in Steel, which if for those of you who are listening, Steel was supposed to be a great. I was excited about Steel because I love the character Steel in Superman. This was not that character.
Steel, not real Steel.
No,
Steel. Not blue Steel.
No, Steel.
Not steal away your heart.
Nope, Steel.
Steel.
Still.
Not Hattori Hanzo Steel.
Nope, Steel.
Okay. That sounds like a very interesting title of a movie, just called Steel. Like, what kind of steel? Or like we're stealing like a thief, like James Caan Thief Steel, or what?
Like John Henry Steel.
Oh.
Like Steel the Metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What is this? Whatever.
Do we have anything else to talk about with this film?
This is one of the dumbest endings for a film ever, too. How does a movie start with one of the best beginnings of a film with the dumbest ending ever?
I mean, it kind of went downhill from the front to the end, so it makes sense.
I mean, it was like... I'm surprised he didn't say crash and burn like another 10 more times at the end with the thumbs up, and it's like, oh yeah, you know how you killed all these people and everything else. It's all forgiven. It's all cool. Whatever. We're best friends or something.
Well, that was like the thing, like you understood that people were basically, there was some sort of contractual reason for them to fight. We're not sure what it was, but there was a contractual reason. But we never saw why that was. We never saw what the benefit of being a fighter, a jock, was for these people.
No.
You just reminded me of something.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not trying to cut your point short, Dallas, but a thought just occurred to me. Early on in this movie, when he's trying to get out of his contract because he did his 10 fights, the guy in charge was like, you can't even read your contract. Right? Later on in the movie, he has a loadout for his robot that he's holding in his hand and reading.
I didn't think about that till just now.
I completely forgot. Part was so...
You're not wrong. He's reading instructions, but he can't read. When he's in the cockpit, they have to go, okay, hit the green button. It looks like a pickle.
Okay. I completely forgot because
he can only read when it's plot relevant, is what I'm saying.
Is that what we call plot armor?
No, that's what we call bad writing.
Yeah, that was another very apparent thing in this film. Very bad writing.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue between each other, especially in that bar, it was so pathetic and bad. I was like, who's who? It's like they could just say anything. They could just blurt out whatever, and they're like, okay, yeah, that's a thing. It's like, whatever.
Well, boys, let's give our final rating on this film.
You can always tell when we get to that point because there's that brief, just awkward silence where we stare at each other and
we just feel defeated.
Yeah.
It's the moment where we try to sweep up the remnants of our
sanity,
dignity.
Finish him.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and hit those ratings. For the uninitiated out there, the rating system goes as follows. First, we have The Top Shelf, which is a fantastic movie, and we believe that the poor connotations that are directed towards this movie are unfounded. Most people will probably enjoy this, and this would be one that we would put on if we were to find out we had a visitor who hadn't seen it before. A Middle Shelf is a movie that we find to be somewhat enjoyable. We can understand why people would think this was a terrible movie, but we don't necessarily agree with. It might be enjoyed by some very specific individuals, and depending on who's around, we might watch it, but it's not for everybody. Then there's The Bottom Shelf. Yes, this is a bad movie. Some people may enjoy it, but it's not us, and probably not most of the people that we know. And then finally, there's The Dumpster Fire.
My favorite spot.
Which is a movie that is so egregious, it needs to be wiped from existence in all parts of the timeline. And as far as we know, no movie has ever made its way to The Dumpster Fire.
Really?
Yep.
No movie?
No movie has ever been there.
Because it wipes it from existence.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's start this parade here. Dallas, let's start with you, being as you are the Gundam granddaddy mecha maniac.
Yeah. So for me, all right. So legitimately, like, it's not a good movie. And it's just not a good movie. And so I wanted to like it. I have a soft spot for stop motion. I have a soft spot for the retro futurism in giant robots, but it's not good. I don't think it's dumpster fire worthy. I feel like I've definitely seen films that are worse than this over the years. But this is not now I will say this. I did at the end of it kind of want to watch Robot Wars, like the spiritual successor to it. I kind of wanted to see it. So I'm going to say bottom shelf.
Really? Okay. That was not what I was expecting from you. So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I know where Kevin's about to go with this, but Kevin, why don't you lay it on us as far as your opinion of this movie?
Well, the stop motion in this movie is far more distracting than any blue screen effect on here. The fight scenes are completely forgettable and horrendous, and they're also quite boring. Question. Did you know if you jump to the ground, you instantly create an invisible shield that will confuse anyone shooting ammunition at you from higher ground?
True.
Just figured, because that's a thing too. I just forgot about. This film is just completely stupid, dumb, and I appreciate when a movie tries for production value, and when they do have some good actor in the movie, which was two for me. One was fun and dumb. The other one was trying to do serious, the Russian guy. The music was horrible. I do know that. I'm very fond for scores, and this score was horrible. But it wasn't so bad where I hated everything in this movie because there was some things I did enjoy. The production value. I didn't enjoy the stop motion, but I did enjoy the production value. I did enjoy some things they were trying to get, even though they weren't pointing it out. It's like a movie you play in the background just to let it play out. So I'll just put bottom shelf. It's not. I've seen worse things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was almost there, but if it wasn't for those two guys in this film,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have thrown this in the fire. If it wasn't for the Texas guy, if it wasn't for the Russian guy,
Right.
if it wasn't for those two, this thing would have been totally, dumpster fire for me.
So communism is your thing, huh?
Oh, heck yeah.
As far as I go, it was fun for me to kind of recall that piece of my childhood.
Yeah.
I do have a soft spot for that retrofuturistic aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can endure some pretty terrible movies to watch as long as they're set in a 80s 90s retrofuturistic setting.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. It's my flavor of garbage. But it's like you said, this movie is not good. Not good. I found a lot of the things they tried to do in this that should have been eye-popping was just bland.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I mean, if I want to bring in a biblical reference right now, it was the church in Revelation that was lukewarm. I want to vomit it out, and I'm kind of with Kevin. Like, there was a part of me where it's just like, there are a few elements that are just keeping me from dumpster firing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this movie left a mark on me early on because it's literally the reason why I never tried watching any Gundam anything until this year. So that's what, 32 years of missing out on Gundam because of one movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, just for the retrofuturistic aesthetic alone, as well as the Russian character in this movie, which I found to be incredibly compelling, I'm going to give it a bottom shelf.
All right.
We are unanimous on this movie.
Sweet.
Interesting.
Yep. So for us here at the bottom shelf, it's a bottom shelf.
Unanimously, which is almost never a thing. So, all right, let's get on over to the weak connections and see if anybody was able to pull a nugget of gold out of this dog turd.
This is a weak connection.
All right, everybody, welcome to the weak connection section of this episode, which is a concept that we stole from my friend Ben Avery. And basically, we try to find some kind of spiritual aspect that we can take out of this movie in hopes of being able to share some sort of Christian truth with friends when we watch this movie, or, perhaps even just to edify ourselves.
While stealing from another podcast. That sounds
with
very
permission.
edifying.
We have permission.
So that's borrowing.
No, we're wholesale ripping off this idea, but we have permission to rip it off.
What are you going to do? Sue us? Never mind.
Oh, Kevin, how I've missed you. And on that note, Dallas, how about you kick off the weak connection portion of this podcast?
Yeah, so for my weak connection, I'm looking at the scene, couple scenes where Keeley's kind of steps out from what he's got going on. We know, we assume watching it, there's a reason why he's in this contract, why he's fighting. There's a purpose. He's supposed to get something out of this situation. And there's a couple points where he's set up for what he wants, but he decides to step out of that for a greater good. When he's fighting with Alexander the First in. He sees this rocket punch flying through the air, going towards these bystanders, and he jumps in front of it to try to save as many people as he possibly can. And then later, he's got what he wants. He's out of everything. He doesn't want to do anything else. But then he sees somebody. He sees Athena. She's about to put herself in danger, and he's like, "What good is it for me to have what I want right now?" And see this happen. He realized that allowing these people to die, allowing these things to take place in front of him, was going to probably hurt him more spiritually and emotionally than just getting what he wanted. And it took me to a verse, Mark chapter 8, verse 36. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? And within, there's a lot of conversations you can have about this verse, but it really boils down to this. We all have our ambitions. We all have our things that we want to do. That some of them are good things. They're positive things. We want to make a certain amount of money to take care of our families. We want to do this. We want to do that. And these are great things. And we try to do stuff to achieve these things. But what good is it to achieve all these things if spiritually we're sacrificing something big? We're hurting ourselves on the inside. There's a lot of great things that I want to do through Geek Devotions and stuff like that I want to put out there. But if I try doing everything, I'm going to sacrifice a lot of other things while trying to do something good. I mean, that's not good. And so my encouragement to you guys is examine what you're doing and ask yourself this: what is it that God actually wants for you? Like, what has God called you to do? What does he have in front of you? And then lean into that, focus on that. Yes, make steps, make plans to go forth and do what you need to do and accomplish things, but don't move away from what he has called you to do, from the identity he's given you. Because if you do that, you try to do everything else, you're going to forfeit something far more precious than you expect. And so that is my weak connection.
Kevin, do you have a weak connection?
No.
Yeah, neither do I. I was racking my brain on this one. I thought, well, maybe Dallas will be able to inspire something into me, and then I got nothing.
I think the Holy Spirit saying you shouldn't be watching this.
Now, remember, Kevo, we bottom shelved it. We didn't dumpster fire it. So
I know, but still, sometimes God looks down at me and is like, oh, why?
Well, cool beans. Thanks for sharing that, Pastor Dallas Mora. Where can people find you apart from the bottom shelf?
You can find me at geekdevotions.com, where you'll find everything else we do, including our other podcast. This is being broadcasted on the Gundam Watch, where Branson, John, a couple other folks come together to watch Mobile Suit Gundam. We're going through various series right now. Right now, we have a segment where John, Branson, and hopefully when we can, my sister Tamara are going through Mobile Suit Gundam Wing. John and I are going through The Witch from Mercury. And then we're going to sprinkle in some other stuff here and there within that. And the whole idea is I've watched Gundam all my life and I love it. And I have friends who have not. And so we're just kind of going through it together. And I'm so proud of you, John. For those listening, John has made his first big step into the Gundam fandom, and he's bought his first Gunpla. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited of you to take the step to build your own Gundam. And I'm excited to see how far your weebification goes.
I've been running down this rabbit hole. Kevin's got a look of permanent disappointment on his face right now. Well, Kevo, where can people find you when they're not listening to The Bottom Shelf?
Look in the show notes.
All right. With that happy comment, you can find me in any of my projects listed in the link tree below. 2 I'm going to highlight, though, this week. One being Gundam by Gaslight, which is a...
Gospel by Gaslight.
Whatever. Dude, Gundam by Gaslight, though. Think about that. Bro.
Branson,
sounds like something I should gaslight.
Branson, if you're listening.
Gospel by Gaslight, excuse me. That is an audio drama that all 3 of us, Kevin, Dallas, and myself, have been a part of. It's one of my favorite shows to listen to on the
Man, this last episode was so good too.
It was. So go check that out. And then also please check out Playing Games with Strangers, which is an actual play Dungeons and Dragons podcast where me, Dallas's wife, and a bunch of other friends hang out and play D&D and act goofy in a land of make-believe. So with that being said, does anybody have anything else to say before we shut it down for the week?
I will say this. I am so excited to have Kevin back on board the ship. I've missed you, Kevin. And I cannot wait to get into far more adventures with you, good sir.
Yay. That sounds so exciting.
I was going to say something creepy, but then I decided not to. So we're just going to go ahead and close that down for the evening, everybody.
Happy Hanukkah, joyous Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, and all the other glorious, lovely holidays you're probably celebrating.
I got it.
What?
I want everybody out there to have a very happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
Good night.